Hi, I'm Megan Baker, and this is Influence Her, produced by Baker Public Relations. In 2022, Christian Hardigree moved her family across the country from Colorado to St. Petersburg, Florida. She is the Chancellor of the University of South Florida St. Petersburg campus. It is such a pleasure to finally sit down and talk with you.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
We appreciate it. So let's talk about that move. You have three teenagers, which is no easy feat in itself, and a husband moving everybody here. How did you get acclimated?
You know, first of all, St. Petersburg is a special place, and so even on the interview coming here, I was like, "Wow, this is going to be really neat." Um, and moving down, and it's three teenagers, husband, a Great Dane, three cats. So it's definitely a quite a bit, and so part of it was getting my children included in the process. So looking for homes, my oldest came down with me. We did 22 homes in 3 days. 2 weeks later, I brought down my middle child so he could try out for a soccer team, which I did not know. He was 14 at the time. I did not realize the soccer team he was trying out for. The only people practicing that night were the 19-year-olds. And so I got down here and I'm like, God, they feed these people a lot. Look how big they are. It's my tiny little
Oh
child.
no.
Who knew? But you want your family to be part of that process, and then I literally threw three cats and my 14, well, at the time 11-year-old daughter into a car, and we drove cross country. And about the time we hit Atlanta, which is where Grandma lives, she was like, "See ya," and so she bailed on me. And so I rolled in on June 30th to start a job on July 1st and carted cats around like a crazy lady into the hotel and closed on my house on June 1st. And so it was this Sudoku game of trying to get all these things to fall into place at the right time.
Mhm.
And then there's just an element of faith and luck.
More than 20 years in higher education. Where did you first get your start?
So I actually started my first career was a trial attorney in Las Vegas, and getting pulled into trials at a really young age. I wanted to practice opening and closing arguments, and had a chance to be a part-time instructor and adjunct at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And when I stepped into that classroom in front of a lot of really judgy kids, and having to be on your A game and have them challenge you. And I just fell in love with students. And so I was a part-time instructor for 4 years before a full-time position became available. And I applied into a tenure track line. And so I had to learn this whole new world. And of course, as attorneys, particularly trial attorneys, you're accustomed to kind of diving in and trying to learn as much as you can about specific areas. And I love the process of being a part of somebody's educational journey, of opening doors, of empowering them with new knowledge, skill, and ability, and then watching them succeed. And doing the math, I've had somewhere north of 9,000 students in my time as an instructor, and so it's really great when somebody reaches out on LinkedIn, and is like, "Hey, you remember me from 19?" It's like, no, but I'm glad you
But
reached
thanks for
out,
reaching
and
out, right?
yes, and I'm really excited to talk to you. And there's still there are quite a few that still stand out. So,
How did that experience in law prepare you for this position with USF St. Pete?
that's a great question. I think being able to stand up in front of groups, be able
Mhm.
to think on your feet, and to kind of do what I refer to as the jazz hands of
Mm.
what is it we're doing really, really well. And then when people do ask challenging questions, we obviously want to address them.
Mhm.
Higher ed is really being challenged at a national level.
Yes.
Is this really a good return on investment? And I'll tell you, here in Florida, they've not increased tuition in like 15 years. So the tuition
Mhm.
annually is about $6,200.
Wow.
And so a 4-year degree is an incredible ROI.
Mhm.
Like 75-ish% of our students graduate with zero student debt.
And you look at some of these other, private schools and colleges where it's just astronomical and off the charts
Absolutely.
and not affordable
And not
or
affordable
attainable.
or attainable. And so here we have access. We have an affordable platform. The state is our angel investor. They continue to invest in us. And I've been at institutions and states that were starting to take away funding. And so to have a state that is invested in the success of higher ed it is unique, and really something that sets Florida apart from the rest of the country.
So let's when you started in 2022, it was the fall semester. You came over the summer, as you mentioned, in July. Hurricane Ian hit. So you had to lead the university through that. What was that like?
You know, terrifying. And candidly, I don't know that there had been as much formalization of process
Mhm.
that St. Pete, and particularly the Tampa Bay region, have been pretty lucky through a lot of storms that they've zigged or zagged and missed this region. And for me, it was primary making sure our students were taken care of. The county called for an evacuation. We had to evacuate the campus, including our residence halls. About 1 in 3 students on our campus live in our residence halls, and many of them already have a plan. They're going to go home, whether it's flying home or driving home, or they're staying with a relative. But we have some that we have to evacuate to Tampa, and depending upon the storm's path, they may or may not actually
Mhm.
stay at the Tampa site. They may go to another shelter site. And I remember at that time, we weren't sure if they were going to be going to a shelter. And if they were, they weren't going to have cots. And so I sent people to Sam's Club to go buy air mattresses because when I moved here, I slept on this bougie air mattress from Sam's Club. It had a headboard, the built-in pump, and so we went out and bought 100 of those because I was like, if these kids, I don't want a student to make a bad
Mhm.
plan because they aren't sure they're going to be able to be on a cot. And so we went out and bought bedding and everything. And, it's like, okay, you're going to evacuate. And here's a box of
Yeah.
goodies. And then we also took the leadership team and we became your hurricane buddy. And so everybody got 10
And
students,
that's the buddy
and
system.
that's a buddy system. And so your job was to check on your 10 students. And so each person on my team had somebody, some group that they were in charge with. And some students needed more attention and help and reassurance. And some were like, yeah, I'm good. Stop calling me. And then when they came back, we greeted them, and then it was a matter of the recovery for the campus and whatnot. So it was we were still incredibly fortunate as a campus, but it was a good place to kind of cut our teeth on what worked and what didn't work, and how could we improve that process. And now sitting here today, I'm
Yeah.
7 hurricanes in, and Raphael's hanging out,
Mhm.
and hopefully not going to zag in our direction.
Hopefully the moves
Just
west,
keep
right?
going west, and I'm sorry for the people west,
Yes.
but this area with these 2 back-to-backs have just been ravaged, and we need a break, and we need the opportunity to rebuild.
One thing that you and I talked about was just the resilience, and that is really the theme, the underlying theme. Talk about the impact that both hurricanes most recently have had with Helene and Milton on the community. 30% of the buildings, the facilities were damaged.
Yeah, the first one, Helene, was really a surge
Mhm.
event. I think our record before that was about 3.9 feet. We had 6.7 feet of water that came in, and for us, that put 85% of the campus underwater in some form or fashion. If you go to the St. Pete campus, we have these bollards that are the big concrete balls in front of the walkway area. They say USFSP, and they're super cute, but they were underwater. I mean, I have video of fish swimming down our harbor walk. And we'd just never experienced that level of flooding. And it truly, I was part of the ride out team,
Mhm.
there on the campus throughout the storm. Um, and it was just, it was debilitating for the entire region. I mean, the barrier islands were just wiped out. There are people who had sand to their roof, that were out at Madeira Beach or St. Pete Beach or whatnot. Um, and even in my own neighborhood, I'm on the west side of St. Pete, and my husband and children on this particular storm had elected to stay put
Oh,
because it's really hard to get 3 kids, a Great Dane, and 3 cats
mhm.
to get out of town. And so maybe being lulled into a sense of maybe we didn't have to evacuate on the last storms. They decided to stay put. And it was 9:30. The surge didn't hit till midnight. It was 9:30, and my middle son called up and said, "Mom, Dad doesn't know what the hell he's doing. We're gonna die." And
Um,
I'm looking at my campus underwater. I know I can't get across the peninsula, and their electrical lines down throughout. Our neighbors had bugged out. And my son, who's 17, is a new driver. And so I'm on the phone with my husband trying to figure out, do you try to drive out now? And would he know what to do if he came across an electrical line? Or do you just hunker down and know you're going to be wet, but you're going to be safe? And so those are just conversations that until you're in the minute, you probably haven't prepared for. And so we were much better prepared on the next one, which was a wind event. It was a very different event. And we were incredibly lucky. If that had jogged 50 miles north,
North.
we'd be having a very different conversation. If it had been 100 miles north, we'd be talking about what year the campus was opening back up. And in that one, we had water intrusion like on our residence hall through the windows. I have a colleague who's on the chamber. He's in a high rise in Tampa on the 40th floor, and they flooded because the wind forced the water in
Oh my
through the
goodness.
windows. And that's what happened in our residence hall. And so we've done about a $2 million renovation, remediation of that facility, 352 students displaced. And we did this project in 17 days. And we're able to phase in students and try to minimize the disruption and keep the course continuity. And I'm really proud to say that we just did an analysis of midterm
Mhm.
grades. And for the students in that residence hall, there's no disproportionate impact. The grades are the same across all of our students, and all of our faculty were incredibly accommodating. And in that same context, we had 43 faculty and staff who lost their homes. And so using our buddy
Right.
system, right? We call it our concierge program. We broke those into groups and have been helping them try to find resources and get support. But it has been a lot. And it's interesting because I was talking to somebody today and we're talking about a different building project. And they were like, well, why can't your facilities team come in over the winter break? And, you can give them other days off. And I've got people who haven't had days off in
Yeah.
weeks. And so
And just the
I,
mental
oh
and
my
physical
gosh.
anguish of it
Yeah.
all. How it's hard to remain positive.
Yeah, but man, this place is special. I've lived in great communities in Las Vegas and Atlanta and Denver, phenomenal communities who love their
Mhm.
higher education institutions, who been very involved in community organizations. St. Pete is special. Resilience truly is like the middle name of everybody here, and the positivity and the linking arms. It is truly a we are St. Pete, and we will overcome this and we will continue to move on. And, man, you're going to eat an elephant and it's one bite at a time, but folks in this community will show up and help you do it. And that's pretty awesome.
What's next for USF St. Pete? I know that when you and I have spoken previously, you really lean into the support from local corporations and other partners that you have too. What does that look like for 2025 and beyond?
So one of the buildings that was destroyed, for example, was we were doing a renovation of our veterans space. So about 1 in 3 of our homed students are veteran or military connected. And the state was incredibly gracious and provided USF $10 million.
Mhm.
dollars. 6 million was allocated to the St. Pete campus. Unfortunately, the building I was going to renovate flooded through one of the storms. And so now it's a matter of I can't build a new building for that. And then what do I do with these now 2 buildings adjacent to each
Mhm.
other that truly should probably be scrapped? So it's going to be a rebuilding process. And then how do we identify the funds and resources to be able to actually build something that's sustainable? We are a campus near
Mhm.
the ocean. And when I say near the ocean, I could throw a rock out my window and it would plop in the water. And so how do we continue moving forward and growing as an institution in a way that's sustainable and that really understands what we're doing in terms of our oceanographic research? It's one of the key areas that our campus is known for. And so we are also going to be building an environmental oceanographic center of
That's
excellence.
so exciting.
And so it's really exciting. I've changed where it might go.
Well, that's
Let's go to high
okay.
ground. But it is really exciting. And we have some of the most phenomenal faculty. It's just mind blowing. Our students are so incredible and they get that real hands-on
Mhm.
experience. And so one of our faculty actually created an app so you can watch where the storm surge is specifically for your address and you can put data into it. And it wasn't long, and it wasn't because of the storms were coming,
Mhm.
but the students were out wading around in the water, putting up these markers that they're catching in real time to see where the water is. Um, And so to see the students' research with our faculty members come to fruition, and she lost her home and she kept working on it through the storms so that other people were prepared and knew what was going on. And like
That's
that,
remarkable.
oh my gosh, like yes, it's the kind of thing that gives you the
Yeah.
goosebumps.
USF St. Pete has done such a great job at really adapting to what the workforce needs are. Let's talk a little bit about that in the future. You talked about some of the programs, but based on the needs, and you have so many different industries coming into this area, into the Tampa Bay region. How do you stay current?
Yeah, part of it's the relationships that we have,
Mhm.
and the chamber next, for example, the committee has just worked with CEOs and presidents of companies to really dive into what is it you need, what is it you're looking for, and we're able to use that data to help inform the types of degree programs we're offering. I literally was on a call before this with our nursing team,
Mhm.
the College of Nursing. We have an accelerated second baccalaureate degree currently on the campus, but we're going to be offering a primary nursing degree here at St. Pete, and that's huge. I mean,
It
we're
is big.
literally adjacent to Johns Hopkins and Orlando Health, and when you look at what Tampa General
Mhm.
does in Tampa, but just the role that healthcare plays in this area and health professions we already offer is one of our largest majors. And so being able to offer nursing in the fall of 26 is going to be a really, really important area.
To help fill a dire need.
Exactly, exactly. We have a fintech program, and when you look at technology and
Mhm.
how it impacts financial markets, I mean, that's a massive area. We just look at technology in general. And then we have some really unique programs that this is the only place that you can study those. One of them is our digital media and journalism program. The other is our graphic arts program. And so how do we continue to build upon those, and really expand their offerings and the attraction that students have in wanting to be a part of those?
Love it. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. We appreciate the time that you took to sit down and hear about all of the good that's happening and wish you the best too. I know that it's not going to be easy road moving forward, but you do have a lot of resilience here in the community. So thank you so much, Chancellor. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I appreciate your amplifying what we're doing. And it's a marathon, not a sprint,
Yes.
and we'll get there.
Thank you.
Thanks.